Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in. Let's get right into it. I'm John, short for Jonathan Michael Riley, and I've been married to Sarah for 7 years. Lately, though, things have felt off. No matter what I tried, this nagging feeling of dissatisfaction with our relationship just wouldn't go away. It had been building for weeks, even before I saw that picture. The one that changed everything. The tension between us was definitely rising, but in the last few days, it felt like it was about to snap. I had a feeling Sarah's sister, Lisa, was stirring things up. Then, just as I was reaching my limit, work sent me out of town on a tough job. The server room at Columbia University had a major cooling system failure. Our company, Metro HVAC, we're known for being the best, but even we were struggling to fix it. Since I was on call that week, I drove up to Morningside Heights. It's a 4-hour haul from home, on Tuesday, and basically lived there until Thursday, working around the clock to get it sorted. We finally got the system back online around 9 p.m. Exhausted, I grabbed a quick bite at a greasy spoon near campus. By 10:30, I was back in my hotel room, ESPN droning in the background, texting Sarah to let her know I was heading to bed. I also suggested we grab dinner Friday night. Quick shower later, I was just about to crash when my phone buzzed. It was a message from Mark, my closest buddy at Metro. Just one line. "Man, I'm really sorry to send you this. Call me if you want to talk." Attached was a photo. It was taken inside Bella Notte, a cozy Italian place downtown. In the dim light, I saw 2 people at a table, sitting way too close. Hands intertwined, eyes locked. Sarah, my wife, and David Chen. David worked at the NYU library. I'd never really liked the guy. Always seemed a bit pretentious, but it never crossed my mind he could be a threat. I stared at the picture, my stomach twisting into knots. I didn't want to jump to conclusions, but the way they were looking at each other, a slow burn of anger started in my chest. Letting this hang overnight would only make it worse. I muted the TV and called Mark. "Hey, sorry to bother you so late," I said, my voice tighter than I meant it. "But I gotta know, what exactly did you see?" Mark hesitated. "Jessica and I were having dinner, and she thought she saw Sarah across the restaurant. She asked me, 'Isn't that Sarah?' I looked over and, yeah, it was her. I watched them for a bit, took the picture. I just thought you should know." I swallowed hard. "Did they?" Mark cut me off. "No, nothing obvious. No kissing or anything. But the way they were sitting, the way they were looking at each other, it wasn't just a casual work thing. It didn't feel right." I ran a hand down my face. "Did you see them leave?" Mark hesitated again. "No, we left before they did. They'd just gotten their drinks. Honestly, I wish we'd stayed." A heavy silence hung between us. "I get it now," Mark finally said, his voice low. I didn't want to believe it, but yeah. Jessica's pretty upset with Sarah, and honestly, the more I think about it, the angrier I get, too. I exhaled sharply. "When I wrap up here tomorrow, I'm heading home. Gives me 4 hours to try and calm down and figure out what I'm gonna do." "Yeah, figured," Mark said. He paused. "Listen, if you need a place to crash for a while, Jessica and I have a spare room. It's yours." I closed my eyes. "Thanks, Mark. I appreciate it." I don't know what I'm doing yet, but I'll keep it in mind. We talked for a few more minutes before I hung up. Lying in the dark, staring at the ceiling, I tried to tell myself not to overreact. No marriage is perfect, right? I loved Sarah. 7 years married, 3 years before that trying to make her happy. If something was wrong, wasn't it my job to fix it? But deep down, I knew our problems weren't about money or sex. We were solid there. The real issue was Lisa. Lisa, Sarah's older sister by 4 years, was like a permanent fixture in our lives, and not in a good way. She had this way of twisting everything Sarah thought, always offering her unsolicited advice on how we should live. Reorganizing our kitchen, criticizing my grilling, sneering at my old recliner. Nothing was safe from her judgment. And the worst part was the two-faced act. To my face, all smiles and compliments. Behind my back, she tore me down every chance she got. I'd overheard one of those conversations between her and Sarah, maybe 2 years into our marriage. I'd come home early from a run, walked in through the back door. They were in the kitchen, sipping coffee, and Lisa's voice carried, "I love you, Sarah, but let's be real. John isn't exactly Prince Charming. He's rough around the edges. I mean, even Christopher had more finesse. Christopher and Tom were ex-boyfriends, guys Sarah barely even mentioned anymore. And he works with his hands," Lisa continued like it was disgusting. "I just don't get it. You could have done so much better." Then came the kicker. "You're seriously thinking about having kids with him?" she asked, her voice dripping with disbelief. I walked away before I could hear Sarah's answer. When I confronted her later, she brushed it off, said Lisa didn't mean it, that she actually liked me. But she never defended me, never set boundaries with her sister, and that was the real problem. That night, after our worst argument yet, I stormed out of the apartment and ended up at O'Malley's, talking to Mike, the bartender, a friend of mine. I sat there for hours, nursing a beer, trying to make sense of it all. By the time I got home, Sarah was asleep, turned away from me in bed. The distance between us had never felt so huge. Our conversations became these polite little exchanges. Good morning. More coffee. Within days, things got a little better, but it never really went back to normal. It was clear Sarah loved me, but I just couldn't understand why she wouldn't stand up to her sister, wouldn't tell her to back off. The only way I could deal with it was to avoid Lisa as much as possible, making excuses to be out whenever she visited, trying to change the subject when Sarah mentioned her. The weeks leading up to this trip to Morningside Heights were especially tense. Lisa was at our place all the time. Almost every night when I got home from work, she and Sarah were in the kitchen whispering. Whether it was on purpose or not, Sarah started treating me colder, more distant. She stopped mentioning Lisa in front of me, leaving me completely in the dark about what was going on. Our communication was polite, but strained. But who needs just politeness with his wife? The warmth was gone, replaced by this careful distance. And intimacy, that had dwindled to routine, passionless encounters. Our private life had become mechanical, maybe twice in the last month. It was like walking on eggshells. I'm not great at deep talks, but I tried a couple of times to ask if something was wrong, if we needed to talk, if there was anything I could do. Sarah would just brush it off, say she was stressed about work, minor stuff with Lisa. "I appreciate you asking, honey," she'd say with this fake smile, peck me on the cheek, and that was it. This went on for weeks, and finally, I decided to call Aunt Carol. Aunt Carol, my mom's younger sister, she'd been a rock for me after my dad passed and my mom got sick. She lived out in Seattle now, but we talked on the phone all the time. If anyone could help me figure out Sarah, it was Carol. I was planning to call her after I got back from Colombia, but first I had to get through this work trip. I tried to push all the confusion and hurt aside, focus on the job. By Friday afternoon, my team and I had run all the system tests. Everything checked out. As a thank you, the Colombia team bought us lunch. I started the 4-hour drive home. My mind was racing. Had something already happened between Sarah and David? Was it just a possibility? Had I messed things up somehow, pushed her towards him? Did she even love him, or was it just some reckless thing? And Lisa, was she behind this, egging Sarah on? Driving in Friday traffic, getting closer to the city. I had no answers, but I knew one thing. I wasn't ready to face Sarah yet. I thought about Mark's offer, but I ended up booking a cheap room at some motel off the highway. Steak and a beer at Applebee's gave me some comfort, and I spent another night alone. That night, I sent Sarah the coldest text I could manage. Almost done. Home tomorrow. No sweetheart, no emojis, nothing. She replied, "Okay, honey, miss you." Did she even mean it? Or was she just playing a part? Next morning, around 9:30, I drove past our apartment building, checking for unfamiliar cars. Nothing out of place. The apartment was dark except for a faint glow from our bedroom window. I kept driving, went back to the motel to kill time. Finally, just before noon, I pulled up to our building again. I felt numb. The anger, the need for revenge, it was all gone. I just needed the truth. The apartment was silent when I walked in through the front door. Sarah wasn't home. I went upstairs, splashed some water on my face, then came downstairs to make a sandwich. That's when I saw it. A big suitcase sitting right by the front door. I froze, just stared at it. My mind went blank. It was full. That was obvious. Time just slipped away as I stood there, motionless. The sound of the door opening snapped me out of it. Sarah walked in, smiling kind of nervously. "Hey, baby," she said. She hugged me, but it wasn't the hug of a wife happy to see her husband after a week apart. It was distant, obligatory. I looked at her face, trying to read her. I wasn't going to yell. I just needed answers. She took my hand, led me into the kitchen. We sat down at the table. "You must be exhausted. Have you eaten? Can I make you something?" Her voice was soft, but I could hear the nervousness underneath. "I'm fine," I said flatly. "What's going on, Sarah?" She leaned forward. "John, I need to talk to you, and I need you to really listen. Please don't get mad. I need to tell you everything before you say anything." I nodded. "Go ahead." She hesitated, took a deep breath. "It's about Lisa." Rage flared in my chest. "What does she have to do with this?" My voice came out sharper than I wanted. Sarah flinched. "Please, just listen." I clenched my fists, forced myself to stay calm. "All right. I'm listening." She met my eyes, her face tense. "I know you don't like Lisa. I get it. But she's been going through hell. Things with Alex have been bad for a while. Alex was Lisa's husband. A month ago, she caught him cheating with his assistant in his office. I was there when she found them. It was awful. She was destroyed. That was unexpected. I'm sorry to hear that, I said honestly. I wouldn't wish that on anyone. Sarah squeezed my hand. Thank you. That means a lot. She took another deep breath. But that's not all. On Tuesday, things got worse. Lisa told Alex she wanted a divorce. He lost it. He hurt her. She ended up in the hospital with a concussion. My anger just melted away. Shock. Jesus, I said. Yeah. And now she has nowhere to go. Alex refuses to leave the apartment, and she can't stay there anymore. She's getting out of the hospital on Monday, and Sarah's voice broke a little. I want her to stay here, just for a little while. She'll be on sick leave, working part-time. She needs me. She looked at me, waiting for me to say something. I exhaled slowly, feeling the weight of everything. This was not the conversation I'd expected. I didn't know what to say. She hardly explained anything, Sarah said, her voice pleading. I know you don't like her and you don't want to be around her, but she has no one else to turn to. Please, John, her life is falling apart, and I'm her only sister. Sarah, I said, you're right. She's not exactly my favorite person, but that doesn't matter now. Of course she can stay with us. Did you really think I'd say no? She jumped up, looking relieved, came round the table and sat on my lap, wrapping her arms around me. When I looked into her eyes, they were shining with pure joy. Thank you, she whispered. Her lips met mine in a soft kiss, like she was promising me everything would be okay. She vowed she'd protect me, make sure we saw less of Lisa, promised with total sincerity she'd never let her sister disrespect me again, never again. The relief flooding through me was overwhelming. I hugged her tighter, buried my face in her shoulder. Tears welled up for a second before I pulled myself together. Carefully, I moved her off my lap onto a chair next to me. I went to the sink, poured a glass of water. I couldn't take it anymore. Okay, Sarah, I said, my voice tight. Can we just finish this? Let's just get it over with, whatever it is. She looked at me, confused. Honey, I honestly don't understand what you're talking about. What else is there? She asked, clearly upset. I picked up my phone, scrolled through my messages, found the photo Mark had sent, and shoved it in her face. This Sarah, you and this man, I said, my voice shaking with anger. The picture hit her like a punch. She went completely silent. I was still trying to figure out the suitcase by the door. How could she be planning to leave when she was talking about Lisa moving in? Before I could even form the question, she spoke. Oh, John, she said, her voice thick with emotion. This is incredibly sad. She pointed at David in the photo. That's David, his wife, Carrie. Her cancer is back. It's a recurrence, and they're 2-year-old twins. They're in the middle of all this. He's terrified. My heart is breaking for them. I just stared at her. Suddenly, the picture clicked into place. Yes, she said. She had dinner with him. He needed someone to talk to. Her prognosis? It's uncertain right now. She held my gaze. Did you really think it was something else? My God, John, did you think it was a romantic dinner? That's how it looked. I stammered, my voice barely a whisper. Mark and Jessica thought so too. They're ready to come over here, face to face. Before I could say another word, she hugged me again, this time, so tight I could barely breathe. "Jonathan Michael Riley," she said, her voice muffled against my chest. "You are the only man I have ever loved, ever even considered in the last 7 years. David is just a friend. His wife is dying. I offered him support." It was getting harder to breathe, not just because she was squeezing me so hard, but because of the weight of everything that had happened in the last few weeks, the tension, the misunderstanding. "I was worried about Lisa," she whispered. "My love, I couldn't talk to you about this. Even mentioning her name, it just set you off. So I carried all this alone. That's why I was distant. I'm so sorry for being distant. My head was just full of Lisa and what Alex did to her." "Okay," I said finally, my voice hoarse. "Okay, I understand. I guess." But my eyes kept drifting back to the suitcase by the door, fully packed, waiting. As I looked at it, she gently pulled my head down and kissed me, deeply. Her lips lingered against mine. When she pulled back, her eyes were tear-stained. "I went to Lisa and Alex's apartment," she said softly, "to get her some clothes, so she'd have everything she needed for the next few weeks." "Baby," she whispered, her voice full of regret. "I am so sorry about this misunderstanding. I can't even imagine what you've been going through since Thursday, holding on to that photo." "My love, I am so sorry." Still holding my hand, she gently pulled me towards the stairs. Her urgency was clear. There was something important we needed to fix. Right now, in the privacy of our bedroom, we slowly undressed. Our movements were slow, gentle, filled with unspoken apologies. We held each other, kissed tenderly, let the tears of relief and love just flow. Wrapped in each other's arms, we made love, not just with passion, but with this unspoken promise to never let distance come between us again. Later, as we lay in bed, our hands tracing each other's skin, I asked, "Really?" "Yes, really," she whispered teasingly. "I really saw his wife. And did you really think I was cheating on you? Mark and Jessica, they thought the same thing." She sighed. "I hate that Carrie has cancer, but it made me think about us, about our marriage." I confessed. I thought it was over. She looked at me seriously. "I believe one cheater in the family is more than enough. Poor Lisa. Boy." Thinking about everything, I realized how much had shifted. Lisa looked different, understandably, after everything. But she was so grateful for us taking her in. She apologized constantly, said she'd completely misjudged me. I told her it was water under the bridge, but she still insisted on helping out around the apartment, taking on chores, cooking. Once she started feeling better, She found this amazing lawyer who helped her get financially stable, find a decent place to live in the middle of the messy divorce. Even though Sarah and Lisa stayed close, it was a relief to have our home just be ours again. That time, it was like a second honeymoon, a time for healing, rediscovering each other. Watching Lisa's marriage fall apart like that, it was a stark reminder of how fragile things could be. It made us appreciate what we had even more, strengthened our commitment. Our apartment filled with laughter again, more smiles. And then 4 months later, we got the best news. Carrie, David's wife, was in full remission. Despite David being a little quirky, I was genuinely happy for them.